Question everything, trust nothing. Welcome to the Danger Close Alpha podcast. It's your boy, Crypto Keeper, backstage. Gonna be up here momentarily. We've got your boy, Blockchain Crusader, in the house.
What's
Ladies and
going
gentlemen,
on?
bro, we have been, killing it over on Trading Wars, and then coming over here, we got a little red pill
Let's get
action
it.
coming on. So, hey, dude, let me ask you, what's on the docket for today?
All
What
right,
are we
man.
talking about?
So we gotta be careful on how we say certain things, but we're talking about global conflicts, right? We're talking about the situations. Are they going to continue escalating? There's a lot of footage that we're going to be showing you guys that is explaining that we are headed towards possibly a World War III situation, right?
Yeah.
And how should we be preparing for this? How should we be getting ready mentally, physically, resources wise? For a possible scenario. I know we just jumped off trading wars, right? We come from a crypto background and we're very bullish long term. But just in case things don't turn out as bullish as we want them to be, we need to be realistic about real life situations. And real life is not looking very good right now.
Yeah. Things are ugly worldwide, not just economically, but geopolitically. We see things happening, obviously, and again, we got to kind of tread lightly here, but we have the things going on over in Israel. We have things going on over in China. I believe there was an aircraft carrier over in China
Dude,
between
China's sending
Taiwan and
China's sending ships over to the Mediterranean Sea, right?
Yep.
We're over there in the Persian Gulf, I believe.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things flying left and right over there, and drones, all kinds
Yep.
of different countries getting involved ever since the situation escalated in Israel.
Yeah.
And the world is at a very tense place, like never been before. I think the last time we were this tense about anything was during the Cold War with Russia back in the day.
Yeah, when I was in the Marine Corps, there was always, we obviously were obviously always training and always paying attention to what was happening. But overall, I mean, yeah, there was a war going on. We had everything going on over in Afghanistan, but it was just like that one central point of, okay, here's what's going on right now. My concern is, bro, let's start off here. First of all, smash the like if you haven't already, guys. Make sure to subscribe to us. Why am I hearing myself on a back loop? You got
Yeah,
it?
I got it.
Okay. Sorry about that. So ultimately make sure that you guys are subscribed. We're going to be getting back to our podcast more often. We obviously had, doing our thing over on Trading Wars. So we apologize for the little bit of delay. We're just trying to, rock that out. But my concern now is that it's everywhere and we have different issues, and in the United States, we're always playing big brother. We always want to be, the answer to everyone else's problems. And look, let's start off here. The United States Army. So I have military background, right? The United States Army is tens of thousands of people short.
And not short people. We're not talking about short people. We're talking about.
I mean, we probably got short people in there too. Trust me. I mean,
but not tens of thousands short
Yeah.
people. We are literally short of people. We don't have enough people joining.
And when we don't have enough people joining, you have to look around and wonder why. Because military benefits in the past have been fantastic.
Yep.
They offer you
Recruitment
a solution.
videos have been crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy
like
not lately though.
Things are just changing, and it's this. I think part of it is we're getting so quote unquote accepting, and we're getting so like whatever goes, and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We're talking about the military, bro. You see the rifles that we have up in the corner. We're talking about men and women that are able to manipulate those in times of crisis, in times of need, to be able to produce a goal,
to make results happen, right?
Results.
So
yeah. And it's a scary place, man, when you look around and wonder, well, who's going to do that? Like, so let me start off with this, Crusader. Let me ask you this. Do you think that we will have a draft soon?
It's very possible. If we do escalate into World War III, right, we don't have enough people. And when we're talking about World War III, I need people to realize it's not going to be like last time where it was all concentrated in Europe, right? At least the majority of it. Some of it was in the Pacific and the rest of it was in Europe. But we're talking about a potential rise with the Ukrainian-Russia situation. So having some part there. We're talking about having a presence in the Middle East as well with what the situation is over there. And then we've got China possibly making a very strong move towards Taiwan. So then goes a third presence happening over there. And that's all we know so far, right?
Hold on. China and Russia are like,
Best friends.
becoming buddies.
He was
Right?
just there. Vladimir Putin
Just
was
there.
just in China, right?
Uh-huh.
We got North Korea sending weapons to
Yes.
Gaza, right? We've got a lot of people lining up and picking sides here,
Mhm.
and we don't know who else is going to show up and say, "Hey, I want a piece of this action too," which might require to us to have another presence somewhere else. So we're spread very, very thin, air, water, and land, very thin. And you just said, right, shortages. We have recruiting shortages happening, and how can we sustain against these massive countries where China has a huge population,
Mhm.
right? They have a massive population of people.
Yep.
They don't have recruiting shortages, right?
No.
So there's no way that we can combat that with just dollars. We need
Right.
people, we need bodies. So therefore, I do believe if that escalates to that moment, which I really praying to God we don't, right? We're not here to fearmonger. We're not here to, this is great, right? I don't want to talk about this content. I don't want to talk about this stuff, right? I don't want to,
Yeah.
but we have to because it's the reality. If it does arise, a draft I believe is very possible.
Yeah, so Patriot Caveman says, "This is America, for God's sake. We can handle 100 wars at the same time. Come on, man." Patriot Caveman. I tend to agree.
I think he's making fun of Janet Yellen.
I know exactly what he's doing. But with that thought process, right? The reality is there's okay. And with what she's saying and what I think he's joking about, the reality is though, right? The only way that we can do that is use our technology. Let me be careful about how I say this. If we use said technology that has codes along with it, we are absolutely saying yes, we're signing warrants.
our own warrant.
Yes,
Right
and we're
there.
just not just other people's warrants. We're signing our own warrants. Our technology can be absolutely second to none. We can have a military that is second to none. But the reality is, the moment that it's like one of those things where, like, once you go there, there ain't no coming
There's no
back. You
coming
don't
back.
walk it. You
Yeah.
don't walk that back. The moment you flip that switch, and there's no walking it back. And part of the problem, bro, is the propaganda in the news. I want to pull something up real quick. Let me see which one this is. I think it is right.
Before you pull it up, I just want
Yeah.
to quickly remind everybody watching on YouTube, we greatly appreciate all of you guys subbing, but also check out our Rumble channel, right? We don't know how long we're going to be here. So make sure you check out our Rumble. We are live streaming there as well. So if you have a Rumble, go hit subscribe over there as well. Go ahead.
So this is like really, really simple here what I want to pull up. I just want to play this. This is literally 14 seconds, I think.
Looks pretty real, doesn't it? Welcome to the next generation of warfare where videos, images, and propaganda are created with AI technology. The bottom line is, question everything, even me. I was generated by AI.
Okay. I know you're like, well,
how wild is that, dude? How wild
is like, why are you showing that? Well, let me tell you why you're showing that. Because a massive part of what's happening right now is propagandist, right? We have seen so many instances of quote unquote footage of live bombing over in this area. And then when they backtrack it and actually do a little bit of investigation as to what it was a totally different conflict. We saw that back in the Fog Around the World, where they were showing all of these bodies and these other things, dude, that were not from that at all.
They showed a scene that was from like a movie. It was like a dystopian movie or whatever. Yes. Things were burning and all that stuff. It was not even real. Yes. So yeah, AI technology is going to be a drastic thing in propaganda, right? It's going to be propaganda like we've never seen before. How do we know what's real, what's not, right? A bunch of videos are flying all over TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, and you don't know, right? These things are made to make you think a certain way, to make you feel a certain way, and say, yeah, I am for this, or yeah, I'm against that. But is that how it really happens? We don't know.
So let's start off with that. Is that what really happened? That's my big question here. First of all, smash the like if you haven't already. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Danger Close Alpha podcast. We appreciate you guys for being here. Let's start off with that. I just and I might get in trouble for saying this, but all right. First of all, let me be really clear.
Yeah, don't Alex Jones it.
But, I won't. But I want to be really clear about
landing,
right? I'll try to give us a soft landing here. I know that. Okay. First of all, let me back up. Everything that happens in a state of war is ugly for the people that are not involved. Like it's ugly for everybody, right? The end result
there's
no winners, right? There are innocent lives that are lost to basically some sort of an idea that's trying to be pushed by one group of people or one government or whatever versus another. So I just have this question, and it really just doesn't make sense to me with the things that happen over at Israel. If you know anything about Israel, one of the things that two things that they're known for. Number one, having the most technologically advanced, basically
intelligence.
the intelligence community on Earth. Okay, so they know where things are, what's happening anywhere around them at all times. Okay, first. Second, they have literally the most secure border on freaking planet Earth. You are not getting in and out of there if you are not supposed to be there. And so when the things that happened over there, they want us to believe, and again, I don't have all the answers. This is me speculating, but they want us to believe that a bunch of kamikazes on paragliders came over top of that border.
And on boats. Yeah.
Were able to infiltrate this area and do what they did. How long was it before anybody even responded?
I believe it was 3 to 6 hours before there was an actual official response, besides maybe the resistance that they met on ground from like police officers in the moment. I believe I heard Charlie Kirk talking about that. And it makes
no sense.
It makes no sense, right? Like, how do you mean? Like, they're not that big of a country. They were talking about from the border to like the center of the city where things were happening.
Yeah.
The certain time it would take for a force or a group of people to show up.
Right.
And it's like, how would it take 3 to 6 hours for them to ever do any type of response to it? So it makes it seem like, was it a setup, right? Did they allow it to happen to have an extent or an excuse to be able to retaliate the way they want to? Right now, they're like, no prisoners being taken. Right now, it's just like full on out. We're gonna make ground zero over there, and they're justified, right? To an extent. So was it a setup? I don't know, man. I hate to believe that it is.
Dude, of course, because it's disgusting, right? But look, I mean, at our border, we just let people in. So we're like, come on in. Well, hey, we'll pay you. We'll just give you.
You can believe there's at least a 12 to maybe 48-hour response in this country.
Oh yeah,
over there.
But we just let them walk in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever. But I want to ask you this: these paragliders, when they come in, like, they can only fly so high because of the logistics of using these things. Okay. Do you think that if a massive group of people started paragliding over our borders in the situation, and listen, we are not Israel, we are not set up in the way that they are, do you think that they would be able to actually do what? Dude, we would know about it, is what I'm trying to tell you. We would know that this was happening.
But that's the thing. There was, I believe,
if nothing else, we would know.
There were some reports coming out of Egypt, I believe it was, that they did give them a heads up, like, hey, we don't know what exactly is going to happen, but we believe there's something's going to pop off. Be very careful, right? kind of like September 11th, right? Ahead. Like a little call ahead. Hey, we think something might be happening, and there's no way that's ever going to happen here. And and it went down.
Yeah. And so ultimately, that you just have to listen. We're not saying, or I'm not saying that I think that one thing is right, wrong, or indifferent. What I am saying is that on the propaganda side of things, you have to be able to look at something on its face and add 2 + 2. Does it equal 4? And in my estimation, in the way that this went down, the only 2 + 2 equals 4 for me is that you have an agenda that needs to be pushed by one side versus another to be able to be justified in attacking from one form or from one side versus the other. And the way that they do that is by allowing some awful thing to come in and happen on your, quote, home turf, which then allows you to retaliate. And to me, that's what this looks like. And I don't know how you could ignore it. It like I said, it's just not conceivable to me that a bunch of low-lying technology in the form of paragliders are able to come over, create the death and destruction that they were able to create without them, A, knowing that it was happening in the first place, and B, even if they did know it was happening, not be able to respond for 3 to 6 hours. Absolutely freaking not. And so I just question everything, trust nothing. the facts to me just seem to line up with that. There was an agenda they needed pushed. Like I'm saying, propagandists, they had needed to have this agenda pushed. How do they do it? Will they allow something bad to happen? And the sad thing is that if I'm right in this, is that they're willing to sacrifice innocent people to do it. And there was a lot of kids that were involved, and now there's just a lot of awful things that are happening. Our prayers and our thoughts go out to all of the families over there, whether this was allowed to happen or whether it wasn't. The fact is that it's happening. It's not that it didn't happen or that it's not happening. It's that, did your government actually allow this to happen? And if so, that's kind of a scary place to be in. And I see our country slowly eroding, not even so slowly anymore, in kind of the same form or fashion. We're allowing things to happen that otherwise we would have never let happen in the past. Where's the line? Where does it stop for us? Right now, it's letting people in, giving them checks, providing them some sort of security, giving them jobs, a place to live, blah, 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 that otherwise would be illegal coming into the country. What happens when those people that are coming in, which there's been a lot of this being reported, are coming in as part of intelligence communities overseas that otherwise this is their way in? And I'm worried that the United States is going to be headed in a direction that's going to open us up for that exact type of response, which is not good.
There's a great comment right here. They've always used fear to get certain legislation passed, which is also ties into this, right? They make certain things happen, certain events, or they allow certain events to happen so that then they have the justifications of, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, and not just physically, but with legislation as well. And people sometimes in the moments of fear and FUD and uncertainty, right? They gave in to these demands, no matter how obscene, right? We saw it with the fog around the world, how people were just like, yeah, shut it down, right? 2 weeks, right? Shut it down. And then it turned out to be months. And then, oh yeah, I'll line up and take the thing, right? I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do whatever you say so that we can all help each other, because we're all trying to work together for the better result. And at the end, in the long term, it's actually hurting the people that they think are actually doing any type of good. So this is definitely another propaganda, another type of way of being used to further their agenda and their interest.
Manipulate their own people, and it furthers the hate and the divide in between two groups of people that otherwise already very much despise each other. And that's part of,
I mean, look what we're seeing in New York. We're seeing it all.
yeah.
We're seeing it in Washington, D.C. Massive protest, right? For one side versus the other, two sides colliding in the streets, right? Massive divide. It's like, who do you back, right? No matter who you back, you're the enemy of somebody else. And there's no right or wrong answer to who you choose, because it all depends on what side of the story you belong to, right? Some people belong to one side, other people belong to another side. And
divide and conquer, man.
Yeah, and then both sides believe they're right. So how do you know who's really right?
And those agendas get pushed, like we said, through false claims in the media. And in today's day and age, everything that's going on in one way or another, right? Whether it's true or not, all the information is out there, and it didn't used to be like that. So it was very much more easy to control, and what was actually. Now what they're able to do is create more and more division. And I think that's the difference. Back in the day, because there was only just the news outlets, they could control those main sources of information. They could control an entire narrative to where a lot of people, most of the United States, for example, in the Vietnam War, were on the majority of people were on the same side of the thought process, because that's what was being pushed to the people. Well, now with social media and cameras being everywhere worldwide, what can they do? They spin that on its head and they say, okay, what's the quickest way to be able to continue to control people? Divide and conquer. We can create division in the same exact manner by just pushing out information in both directions.
Talking about division, think about this. We've heard Mr. T, right, our good old friend, the Orange Cheeto, come out and say that he's very against the conflict, and that he wants people to stop being unalived for these conflicts, and he would resolve it instantly. What if they're setting him up? What if they're setting him up to not be able to do that, right? What if they're trying to push and escalate this situation into a possible World War III, right? So that by the time the election is over, and whether he wins or doesn't, but let's assume he does win, right? Then he's cornered in a way where he can't back down. Right? He can't back away from the conflict, because we're so deep in already from the previous administration that there's no like, oh, well, I'm a new guy here. I'm actually going to back out of this whole scenario and we're not going to do that. Because by that time, right, maybe we've taken a few shots, right? We've taken a few casualties. Certain things have happened between now and then. And there is no way he can justifiably stand up and say, yeah, no matter what happened, we're not going to engage in that conflict.
Yeah. There's a lot of different angles that you can look at as this continues to happen, and we're seeing more and more issues worldwide that again beg the question, what's going on? I actually want to bring another one up, and this is kind of near and dear to my heart. Like I said, with the military background, I know Crusader, you're into the pews as well, and just personal protection and Second Amendment, right? This is interesting right here. Let me pull this up.
Lake City Ammo plant cancels all commercial contracts. According to multiple news sources, the Lake City Ammo plant has canceled all of its commercial contracts. This means that stores will no longer be able to purchase ammo from Lake City, which currently supplies 30% of the civilian market for 5.56 ammunition. The Lake City Ammo plant is owned by the U.S. government but operated by Olin Winchester. Winchester produces ammo and sells it to the government. When the facility is able to produce more ammo than the government requires, they sell it either to consumers or distributors. If it's true that they've canceled their commercial contracts, this means the U.S. government is requiring more ammunition, enough that they can't produce enough to sell the excess. And then I found this: ammunition disposal business destroyed after fire caused explosion in Montgomery County, officials say. An explosion rocked eastern Montgomery County on a Tuesday morning after an ammunition disposal facility caught fire. Officials said that there were 8 semi-trailers worth of ammunition inside. Just keeping y'all up to date.
So again,
what if that is also right? They've always trying to go after Second Amendment rights, and they haven't been able to succeed as to the extent that they want to. But what if this is a way that they restrict you, right? They take away the seeds, therefore you can't use the trees, right? You can't use the plants because if you don't have any seeds. What if that's the goal right here? Right?
Yeah.
Accumulate all the ammo, accumulate all the stuff, so that way the average person doesn't have. We saw that around the world. Not this exactly, but we did see some shortages happening and some panic buying, and prices got ridiculous extremely fast.
And it's part of the reason that we are in the prepper community. We haven't built a bunker yet. The DCA fam wants to do that. We definitely are still planning on doing that.
We need to do that.
Yeah, we do. We have our NFT project, and have done some other things with some other people in the prepper space, and taught some classes and done some events and whatnot. But part of the reason is, we talked about this a lot in the past, but it's not about living in fear. It's just living in the reality that all of this genuinely is happening. And I would rather err on the side of just being able to having the ability to protect my family. There's a lot of times where, like right now in my home, because I am a Second Amendment type person, right? I've got a lot of things that ultimately could help me protect my family and the seeds for those things, right? But at the same time, the government is pushing so hard on some of these topics and these subjects. And like you said, like an unexplained, 8 semi-truck loads of ammunition just blows up when we're actively having
last year
a shortage.
Last year, we also saw over 100 food facilities all catch fire and shut down.
When
That's
all the food
still been happening. And
Mhm.
food prices are going up, right? We're moving into the synthetic stuff, right? And all this other fugazi, but nobody talks about that either, right?
Mhm.
And now we're seeing it with the ammo, right? We're seeing the inflation of prices going up, right?
Yeah.
Real estate bubble maybe bursting here or not, right? Whatever it is, the economy is not in a good spot. Money printing continues, or money spending continues to rise over almost $1 trillion, over $500 million at this point in just the month of October, $1 trillion in the last 4 months. So we're at almost $2 trillion between October and the last 4 months, of the last 5 months, $2 trillion of spending. Where does it stop? Right. Like you said, I don't like talking about this stuff. I don't like fear mongering. I don't like talking about it, but it is a sad reality. I also can't ignore it, right? Because when the time comes, if you're not prepared, it's going to be too late. No prayer is going to save you at that moment. It's too late for you, right?
Yep.
So the time to pray, the time to get prepared is now. So we can all hope and pray that it never comes. But if it does, you might have a slight chance of coming out the other side with your
Yeah.
family intact.
Have some sort of a game plan put together. We're going to be, releasing some things on the podcast as we continue that we think are really important as part of a basic overall prep for everybody. Again, it's not everybody's got to have a bunker, but it is having some sort of a game plan, some talking through with your family. Hey, if X, Y, and Z were to happen, how do we handle this? I know a lot of people go back, and I've talked about this before, where they see the what was the show called? Doomsday Preppers, right? And on its face, when they show it, obviously, when you watch it, it is very sensationalized, and they take the most extreme examples.
Yeah,
But I
the
think when people
wild, the
hear,
wildest people.
yeah, when they hear the word prepper, a lot of people go to that immediately. When the people that I've met in the prepper space, it doesn't. There's some people like
Are
that for
your
sure.
average Joes,
For
right?
just normal people saying, hey, listen, I've got a game plan for water should something happen with our water supply. I've got a game plan for food should for some reason we not have access to food for an amount of time. I've got a game plan for personal protection should I not have, the ability to go out and buy, or we're at a time of unrest or whatever. That's really what this comes down to, because just like you said, Crusader, like nobody wants to think about and face the realities of what the world is coming to right now, but they are the realities, right? I believe with my faith that I know where I'm going should this absolutely go south, and God help us, I hope Christ comes back while I'm still here and I can just see ya, I'm gone. But should that not be the case, I want to be able to protect my family, and protecting my family doesn't just mean with what we were just talking about with like ammo. I'm saying just in the form of, hey, I need to have water, I need to have food, I need to have just personal protection around my
Yeah, man, because
property. And
people don't realize how quickly certain things disappear, right? Like the grid goes down, you're not getting water to your house, right? There is no water plant or anything pumping water to you. A1 says, I follow everything. I tell my family and they straight up ignore me. I'm shunned by everyone.
look what else I
Karen,
just said.
yeah, Karen says, hey, join the Discord, right? Join our Discord. Get in the Danger Close Alpha Discord. Nobody's going to shun you there. We're all getting prepared. But yeah, like I was saying, things can disappear or go away very quickly. Your everyday conveniences, water, electricity, shelter, anything can go away very, very quickly. If you don't have extra food for a couple of days, there's not going to be a Amazon Fresh delivering anything to your house, right? There isn't going to be a Publix open that you're going to be able to walk into and just get some more meat. I mean, we saw that when the fog around the world happening, shelves were being emptied out, or with the fog around the world. We're not talking
For
about
toilet paper, bro.
yeah, toilet paper was disappearing, meat was disappearing, right?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about a World War III. We're not talking about, well, I'm not saying they're going to invade the United States, but you just never know how far things can escalate, right? When we saw World War II go around and all the men got shipped off, right? Women had to be working at the factories to keep up the demand for for the war effort. So how far could it be? How of a drastic event can it change your life if a World War III does occur?
Yeah. And it would be absolutely drastic, and it would not be pretty.
The world has changed a lot since World War II, right? World War II, we didn't have jet airplanes, right? Only the Germans had jet airplanes. We had propeller planes.
Yeah,
right?
but and even comparing those to what we got now is wild.
It's a whole different world now, right? We might as well be in 30, 40 compared to World War II.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We're talking about laser systems. We're talking about all kinds of intercontinental missiles. The Navy's equipment alone. I mean, the cruise missiles flying left and right. It's nothing in comparison to World War II. So imagine how crazy a drastic effect that can have on the world if things do escalate that way.
Yeah, and I like what Crypto Crazy said. They're talking about preparing and said, just like crypto, and then said, we live in the hurricane state and y'all learn real quick to prepare. The problem is, though, most people don't. Whoops. I didn't mean to hit that, but cool. That was good. I was actually, hold on a second. I'll actually hit that. I got heirloom seeds, box of MRE filters, camping stuff for fire and heat, but don't have knowledge to get crypto off exchanges. So listen, A1, make sure to follow us over on Debate Crypto. That actually is something that even, we can obviously help you with at any point in time. It's actually very simple to do so, but we can definitely help you over there. And then obviously that's something that you could YouTube. But what I'm getting at is the preparation goes even further than the first few things we were talking about. It goes into our money. It is part of the reason why we got into Bitcoin, recognizing that, hey man, this financial system is broken. When you can just fire up a printer with no sort of recourse for the people that are firing up the printer, all it does is help them and hurt us. There is a problem, and at some point, that house of cards has to fall. And so, not only do we have all of this instability geopolitically, but we also have a falling house of cards, as it were, with our money. And add one more layer to it, the absolute power and control and trying to steal everyone's privacy all at once. It's a scary, scary place to be. And so you need to have an understanding of money. You need to have an understanding of, I believe, the blockchain, and you need to have an understanding of some privacy options on the blockchain. There are just so many different things that take some time to do, just like prepping does, but it ultimately long term could possibly save your life or put you in a position that otherwise, other people aren't going to be in. The reality is too, if the grid goes down and that's what you think is going to happen, you got a lot more problems whether you can access your Bitcoin or not. Even though you can trade Bitcoin via radio signal, little fun fact for beginners. You definitely can do that, but you have a lot more problems than that because everything is digital now. Very quickly, within a few days, it would be absolute chaos. And I'm talking about anywhere and everywhere, because people are not going to be accepting dollars because it makes no sense. You'd be like Pablo Escobar, ready to burn the dollars just for heat if things, get out of control for too long. That's kind of where things are headed. And now we've got this decentralized asset called Bitcoin that allows us to be able to, we the people, kind of be our own bank. That's a beautiful thing to a point. But again, what are you preparing for? And are you preparing for all these different scenarios? And I think you have to be prepared for the physical. And when I say the physical, I'm talking about your food, your water, your safety, your defense, all of that. Okay, cool. But then also on the other side, your monetary ability to be able to transact. Because if they were to drop the hammer on everybody right now and put some rules in place with the central bank digital currencies that maybe you weren't down with, and enough people said, well, screw it, I'm just going to use Bitcoin, and you had no fundamental understanding of Bitcoin as an example, well, you're going to be behind the curve and maybe not be able to transact other than doing exactly what the government wants you to do. So diversify. I think it's super freaking important.
Dude, it's so important. It's wild, the fact that most people live in a world where they just don't think about stuff. They don't think
Nope.
about this. They
I
think
don't want
that
to think about
society,
that.
right? I sometimes talk about it with some close friends, sometimes my wife, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to think about that. That stresses me out." And it's like, well, you imagine how stressed you're going to be if it does occur and
Uh-huh.
you hadn't thought about it this whole
Uh-huh.
time. You have no game plan. You have no idea what to do. You have nothing to help you get through it because you didn't want to have some short-term stress, right?
Yeah.
And just get prepared and say, well, if it does happen, it's going to suck. It's going to be terrible. Assurance in the back of my mind that I have something that can help me through it versus just be like, oh, so this is what we're doing now? We're
Mhm.
digging for water?
Yep.
How do I do that?
How does
I don't
that
even
work?
have a shovel. I'm gonna have to borrow somebody's shovel to try to try to dig for some water. Right?
Yep.
Or that guy's gonna hit me over the head with his shovel and take whatever I have. So
And take whatever water I thought I was going to be digging
yeah,
for, even though I don't know how to dig for said water. Yeah. There's so many different things that, you can learn out there if you're just willing to spend a little bit of time doing it. And again, we have time. It's like, what do you prioritize? How do you prioritize your time? Are you spending your time playing a video game? I'm not saying not to have fun. I'm not saying not to enjoy yourself. I'm not saying devote every single last second of your time to don't making money and prepping your God. What I'm saying is maybe spend a little bit of time just to even start by putting together just a conversation with your family. Hey, I have a really good friend up here that lives near me, and we both prep, and we have literally right now, if the screen cut off and boom, like Crusader, you and I are a long way away from each other, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we're states away. He's not, and we have a game plan because you do have strength in numbers, especially if it's somebody that you can trust, and we know exactly what we would do should that occur. And I think that, wow, why would other people not at least have that conversation in advance and say, okay, this is the plan, and it's simple as that. Have a plan.
Exactly. Exactly right. You need a plan. You can't wait and just react to what's happening. It's like, oh man, maybe if I should have gotten some more water, maybe I should have gotten some more food. Oh, now we're all starving. Oh, now we're all dying of thirst. Right. And that's just basic stuff. Water and food is basic. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't even have that covered. Right.
Mhm.
Imagine when things escalate to an extreme amount, whether it's a physical amount of violence in the streets, right? People tearing each other up for resources, EMP, somebody was mentioning in the chat, EMP, the complete grid lockdown. You can't call nobody, you can't call for help. There is nobody coming to save you. We've
Mhm.
seen when hurricanes have hit uh, uh, um, New Orleans or hit here in Florida, right? It takes weeks for the government to
FEMA
show up
to
and
do something.
do something, right? Provide some type of aid, some type of food, some
Yeah.
type of something. And a lot of people can disappear during that time
Mhm.
because it's a long time. So don't wait for somebody to come save you. Don't expect somebody to come save you. Don't also expect, oh, I know somebody that's prepping. I know somebody that's all about it. So I'll just rely on him. Right. When things go wrong, I know whose house to go to. And I'm just gonna show up empty-handed. I'm sorry. But when that moment comes, those people, and I include myself in those people, the people that come knocking on my door, I'm going to have to turn away because I can't save everyone.
No.
Priority is my family, my
Mhm.
friends that have been helping me prepare for this situation. I can't feed everyone. I
Yeah.
can't provide shelter and protection for everyone. I have limited resources for the small group of people that are in my circle helping me get prepared. I'm not a rich man. I don't have unlimited resources to buy all the food and ammo and stuff for everyone. So when that moment comes, if you are one of those people, don't expect to have the door opened. The door
Yeah.
is going to close on you.
Yeah, and the door seems to be closing on those
All
of
of
us
us.
that, yeah, are. And,
Don't we have a few other videos to
yeah, I
talk
was about to.
about
No, I was about to
China?
pull one right now. I was just going to say, like, one of the problems is the door feels like it's closing in on ourselves, and like we don't know who to trust, who not to trust. Can we trust who's in power in our government right now? I question that. Check this out. This is an interesting. This is an interesting little one right here. I want to play.
Is on the brink, and the White House is panicking because Joe Biden's president. The United States now sponsoring a double proxy war against the Iranians and the Russians. China's eyeing Taiwan, and North Korean weapons were just discovered in Gaza. The State Department has just issued a worldwide travel warning to all countries. When's the last time that's happened? Americans aren't even safe in France. Our enemies are being mobbed by angry Muslims. Our military bases are under attack in Iraq. And we just had to shoot down 2 Iranian-made missiles. How was your week? Well, this right now breaks. Putin is in China meeting with Xi, where they're coordinating Mideast policy. 2 American carrier strike groups are in the Mediterranean. And Biden just tested one of our new nuclear weapons, detonating a massive bomb in Nevada. And we keep catching Middle Easterners sneaking across the secure southern border.
What I was talking about.
Axios reports top officials.
Those are some great examples of what we were referring to earlier, like a whole plethora of things that are happening, and you can choose to look the other way. You can choose to bury your head in the sand, but it doesn't change the fact that it is actively happening right now. I don't know, dude. I think the China Russia thing, I think, is the most for me is the most concerning.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about 2 world superpowers that very much do not like, and that's a nice way of putting it, the United States, and they are joining forces. Not only are they joining forces, it looks like in some sort of way militarily and having conversations about that, but the de-dollarization, right? They're actively pushing against what is ultimately been our cornerstone and being the world reserve currency. And if they're able to push others, the BRICS nations and others, away from the US dollar, crush us in a financial aspect. I don't know what just happened there. My camera just cut out. I
Camera just
apologize.
crashed.
There we go. Not sure what just happened. If they're able to crush us from a financial aspect, then what happens when we move forward and try to, press forward in a military aspect when they're ready for that as well? And they've already hurt us financially, and they've got other people not accepting the US dollar, and that messes with the bartering and trading that we do, and it messes with our global oil retention and the ability to send and ship and receive. And we've already used a bunch of our reserves. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's a really scary place to be.
Yeah, man. Well, I know we got another video that breaks down the conflict
yeah.
situation with China as well. We'll play that here soon. But dude, the China thing, it does concern me, right? Because that's another massive player coming to the board, and they've already been trying to get on the board. They have planned things out many years ahead, right? They have 100-year plan, they have 50-year plan on how to get to where they want to. They need us to an aspect of, right, and they're a very economical country that needs a lot of exporting to be done. They export a lot of stuff. We buy most of their stuff. So we've been having a symbiotic relationship with them in that aspect, but they are fighting for control of the southern China Sea, or whatever it's called over there. And Taiwan is that main target. Taiwan also produces a massive amount of high technological chips, which we have a shortage of around the world, and they have a very good level of technology. They also have the perfect positioning to have full control of that region, which is valued at quadrillions of dollars, because in that area there's tons of oil and natural gases that China could be getting access to if they had full control of Taiwan. But because they don't, Taiwan and America has been able to keep them at bay, and it also constrains from their geolocation. When they're trying to travel out into the open sea, right? The U.S. has pretty much bottlenecks on the way out because of all the islands that are in the way. So if they don't have full control of that area, they're losing control and access to the open sea for trade and just go ahead for entirely the whole situation. So with that being said, the situation with Taiwan is very serious. And like I said earlier in the show, if it does escalate to that situation, right, that puts us on a third global conflict in the world, a third place that we need to be taking care of, right? The world's police, once again, coming to the rescue, and they will have to respond. We have ships over there. We have ships in the Persian Gulf, I believe it is, right now with the conflict down in the Middle East. China is sending carriers to the Mediterranean, I believe. And Russia is also involved. So just,
and like Karen said, we're financially funding both sides of this.
Yeah.
Which is some of the craziness. This guy in this video, I want to break this down before we get out of here. I want to let this guy break this down real quick. Check this out.
If we went to war against China, we could fight a war, but we can't win it. And that's even if we bring the totality of our conventional strength into play. And now we're talking about doing it against both Russia and China. The costs that are going to be associated with this are phenomenal. First of all, it's going to require a massive expansion of our conventional military power. The United States Army just had a shortfall in recruiting. They are literally tens of thousands of personnel short of what their authorized manning strength is, which means instead of expanding the U.S. Army, they have to shrink it. They don't have enough men or women to fill the ranks. And so certain units, certain capabilities are being taken down to zero because you don't have manpower to do this. And now Congress is talking about beefing up. With what? Are you going to go to a draft? Have you run that by the American people? Is it really smart for the United States to talk about fighting a two war? Do we know what that means? It means that America has to leave our continental fortress, go across the oceans to fight a war over there in their backyard. In their backyard. That means we're taking Russia on, in a confrontation in Europe where Russia's logistics are literally right there next to them. They're supplying themselves from interior lines of communication. We We'll have to extend ourselves. We don't have sufficient logistical buildup in Europe anymore. It would cost billions to do that. That means we have to sustain from the United States with lengthy supply lines. It's literally suicidal.
It's literally suicidal. Yeah. And again, guys, we're not here to fearmonger. We just want to bring your attention to the fact that if you haven't figured it out already, things are getting and have been getting more and more tough, rocky, ugly, both financially, geopolitically. And what's your answer? I want to ask everybody in the chat, like, are you guys doing something about it? Like I said before, we're going to be linking some stuff as we continue to grow the channel for you guys. Just some important things. Like, I'll give you an example of something that I really like. I have life straws. You can filter like thousands of gallons of water. Like, I have a creek out back of my house. I literally could go out there and drink right out of it with this thing. There's some very simple, cool.
I got a Berkey water filter.
Yeah, those are fantastic too. You can do thousands of gallons of water out of those. Obviously, water being number one, the number one thing. Obviously, besides, you know, your security, but you could argue, hey, your security is not going to matter if you don't have water to stay alive. So, you know,
it's symbiotic kind of thing. It's like you need both, right? Because without protection, your resources are going to be taken, and without resources and just protection, like how long can you really survive?
And there's simple things, you know, that we want to teach too. I'll give you an example. Should things go bad with the water supply, what's one of the first things you should do? Fill up all the bathtubs in your house with the water that's in the current system within your house. Fill them up, literally. Fill them up. Have some pills, some water filtration pills that you're able to, you know, that's a lot of water inside of a bathtub, right? And if you have multiple bathtubs, let's see, I'd have I have 3 like big areas of water. One of them is a big, huge jacuzzi soaking, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you take advantage of the things that can, you know, that you have at your disposal. So looking around your house and figuring out, okay, what are some advantages that I can use? Where are some areas that I lack? What are some simple things to do? Short term, what do I start with? A game plan. Medium term, how do I start to put that game plan into action? What are some things I need to buy? What are some things I need to do? Where are some places I need to go? And then
who should I be talking to, right? Diversification of friends, right? People have different skills. Maybe one of your friends is a nurse or a doctor, right? Somebody needs to be a medic. So everybody can't be, you know, healing up themselves. Some other guy could have very good skills at being some type of engineer, building stuff, right? Putting stuff together, making sure things can work when things break down, or, you know, whether it's your car or, you know, anything, whatever it is, you know, somebody that can, you know, be good at bartering, right? Somebody that, hey, I know who we can go or where we can go to find this X, Y, and Z. I know some people here, right? We go to everyone bartering, engineering, medic, right? These are all roles within our NFT project, but they're real roles in real life. Everyone can't do everything. You can't be the guy going out and going pew pew pew, and then also being the guy that takes care of everyone else when they're injured. Because if you go down, who's going to take care of them, right? People need to have different roles for different reasons. Some people need to go out and find food. Other people need to protect and, you know, stay up and be guarding whatever it is that you're trying to protect. Like, there's just so many different roles. It takes a village. It takes more than one person to do it all. One person can't not sustain itself. With you know, if you surround yourself with people that have no skills and no resources, one person isn't going to be able to defend the situation, right? It's very simple. You can watch The Walking Dead. You can watch very basic, simple, silly shows that seem very silly online for survival, but you see very quickly when the skills and the resources are skewed one way or another, how quickly things fall apart.
Yep, for sure. We don't want things to fall apart. That's part of the reason that we wanted to do this podcast. We really genuinely believe, as we look around, most people do have their heads buried in the sand. They might see it, but they're not willing to do anything about it. And we don't want that to be our community. We have a Discord community. If you guys want to jump in there, we are going to be, like, we've obviously had the Discord going for a while. We've taken a little bit of a break as we have been focusing on some things over on our crypto channel, but are really trying to focus efforts back into this and that. So we appreciate each and every one of you for being here. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe, turn on the bell notification, make sure that you guys are following along. We're going to continue to bring you information as it comes. We really do appreciate each and every one of you for being here. We love you guys.
Yes.
Crusader, anything you want to leave us with before we sign off?
No, that was it, man. Like I said, like you said, right, we're going to keep bringing you more information, reporting on what's happening worldwide. not to fear monger, but just so you guys have the facts. And like Keeper was saying, we're going to be bringing up items, right? We're going to be putting up links for you guys to see what you should be looking at, where you can find it. Right? Maybe some people have never heard about the Berkey filters, right? Now you have, you can go find them. We're going to try to find things where maybe we can try to get you guys a discount on certain items, right? Prepping it can get very expensive very quickly, and you got to be very strategic with your money. So wherever we can find any discounts and use our leverage as content creators to get you a discount, we will, and we will provide that for you guys here.
That's what it is, Crusader. I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, that have been watching. We love you guys. Just remember to question everything. And until next time, well, I actually pulled you off on purpose because I knew we were going to totally screw that up. But okay, never mind. You're back. Okay, well, we hadn't talked about the ending, but I think we should say, just remember to question everything,
trust nothing,
and until next time,